Right, good afternoon, everyone. My name's David. I am running a session of Girl Underground this afternoon. This is the third one I've run over the last 3 weeks. Girl Underground is a new Powered by the Apocalypse game released in zine form by Lauren McManaman and Jesse Ross. I'll put down a link below where you can see a site with some more information on it, and I believe it's still possible to get your hands on a copy if you're interested. So Girl Underground is a Powered by the Apocalypse game. So it's sort of based on the system designed by the Bakers in Apocalypse World and subsequently refined in a whole host of other games. It's about a girl who ventures into a mysterious land influenced by stories like Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz. And it's about how the girl explores this land, overcomes problems, and learns about herself and changes as a result. In particular, how she reframes her self-image in the light of the expectations placed on her by society in the form of the manners, which we'll get onto in a moment. The girl is a character who is shared between all three players, and they will also be playing. They'll each also be playing a companion character who acts as a sort of supporting character to the girl. This game is being run, has been organized through the Gauntlet Hangouts calendar. So the Gauntlet is an online role-playing community focusing on indie games of all stripe, really, everything from sort of OSR through to story games and pretty much everything that isn't sort of big publisher-led gaming. We organize lots of sessions of role-playing every month, which is available. You can see the calendar and sign up for games through the website, which I put a link to below, but it's gauntlet-rpg.com. We also have forums on there where you can chat with people, read stuff, all the usual forum things. There's a monthly gaming zine where we publish new material for existing games or new standalone games. That's called Codex, and that can be accessed either. Back copies can be bought through Drive-Thru-RPG, or you can get it by signing up to the Patreon. Again, details and all that are on the website below. And finally, there's a whole host of podcasts under the Gauntlet stable, which are well worth checking out if you're interested in listening to podcasts about gaming. So that is me. That's my intro stuff. So what we're going to do now is in a moment I'm going to ask all of my players to introduce themselves, and then we'll start the process of the game by building our girl and coming up with some ideas for her. Cool. So yeah, as I said, my name is David. I use he, him pronouns. I'm based here in the UK. I've been playing games with the Gauntlet for about a year now. And yes, I'll ask my other players to chip in as I accidentally disconnected myself from Jitsi earlier. Everyone's switched around order on my screen. So Julie, can I ask you to introduce yourself first, please?
Yep, I'm Julie, she, her, and I'm new to the Gauntlet and excited to play this game.
It's lovely to have you. Thank you. And Robert.
Yeah, I'm Robert, he, him pronouns. I've been gaming with Gauntlet now for about a year and actually playing indie games in general for about a year. So I'm excited to try this out. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
Brilliant. Yes, no, it's I've certainly enjoyed the games that I've played so far. And yes, finally, Ludo.
I'm Ludo. I go by any pronouns, and I'm based in Germany.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Cool. So yes, our game, the process of the game begins by us working together to create and flesh out our girl who will be playing. And this will allow me to keep referring to her as the girl and actually give her a name. So if we look on the character keeper that I've sent you all a link through, you'll see that one tab on here is called the girl. So for this is the process of creating. Oops, I have copied in this with some of the stuff filled in from last time. I will just delete some of that out. But yeah, as I say, we'll be creating the girl together, sort of as a collaborative process. I'll probably, just because it's much easier online, I probably will be asking questions to specific players as I go around, but do feel free. Like this is sort of an interactive process. If you want to clarify something with another player or make a suggestion, do feel free to jump in. But like I said, I probably will just be like asking specific people, just because it makes it flow a lot easier online. But as I said, don't feel free that you have to sit there quietly until it's your turn to speak. Do jump in if you want to at any point. So, as I say, the girl is our central character for this game, and she will be responsible for sort of driving the action, essentially driving the narrative of the story, and the story will largely focus on her experiences. So it's kind of quite important that we just kind of get together a bit of an idea of her in her head, so that everyone is comfortable. Everyone's comfortable playing as her, and we don't need to like flesh out a load of detail at first. Part of the idea is that we obviously learn more about her as you all take it in turns playing her and bringing your own impressions to the character. But it obviously helps to have a bit of a starting point to go from in playing her. The things I will specifically call out before we begin the actual process of fleshing it out is that there are a number of agendas for when playing the girl, which are down in the center, down towards the bottom of the character sheet there. I will just quickly go through those. These are quite important to bear in mind when you are playing the girl. So these are: ask probing questions of the world and your companions, request help from your companions when needed, desire what your home lacks, be brave and take risks, act against your manners, act in line with your beliefs, and seek opportunities to learn and grow. As I say, it's quite an interesting part of the game, is probably the most interesting part of the game, is the way that the girl character functions, because in some ways, when you're playing the girl, you almost take on some of the responsibilities that a GM often has in a game. So kind of part of what you'll be doing is spotlighting other characters by sort of bringing them into what's happening, and but being quite proactive in driving the story forwards when you're playing as the girl. That's sort of her function. So it's worth bearing that in mind when playing her. It's generally better to be doing things rather than reacting as the girl. We will. So the first thing we need to do is to decide on our girl's name. So the name for our girl will be kind of related to something that her family lacks. So you'll see on the top left of the sheet, it says, if your family has love but no, and then a number of options below. And those are, if your family has love but no curiosity, if your family has love but no money, no time, no magic, or no quiet. Or there is the opportunity to sort of write in an option as well. So I'm wondering if there are any of those that are capturing anyone's imagination as we begin. We'll obviously decide this between everyone, but I'll get your initial impressions. Julie, are there any of those that leaps out at you?
I like quiet because I kind of like the idea of her like having a bunch of siblings.
Cool. Yeah, Robert, how about you?
Yeah, that's kind of funny because I was going to say the same thing. Like, I was thinking that she had, like 5 or 6 other siblings, so it was always just a loud and rambunctious house.
Cool.
Yeah, I think quiet might be quite fun, especially because the companions can be pretty rambunctious too.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so then that's our first option there, is that if your family has love but no quiet, your name is Serena. So Serena is the name of our girl. So these first couple of questions I will just ask around again. I'll just, for the moment, just go in the order I can see people on my screen. Julie, how does Serena wear her hair? Again, you'll see there's a list of options there, but if you want to write one in, then that's also cool.
I was thinking maybe like braided, just because if she doesn't like, if she's trying to take care of a bunch of siblings, she wants it kind of out of her face. Oh, I think you're muted, David.
So I am. Robert, how does Serena sound when she speaks?
I think she speaks fairly quickly and like to the point. So I'd go with quick like a bolt of lightning.
Awesome. And Ludo, what is Serena's prized possession?
Something stolen, because
Ooh.
with such a big household, it's really hard to have something your own. Everything is to be shared. So there's something that she's keeping to herself.
Cool. What do you think that might be, or does someone else have an idea for that?
What if it's like an old doll that she was forced to like hand down to her younger sister or something? She doesn't want to grow up yet, so she still wants it.
I like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I really like that. That fits in nicely. Perfect. Yeah. So Julie, I'll come back around to you. What is Serena's biggest fear?
I think maybe inability, just because like she's worried she won't be able to, I don't know, take care of everyone.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, no, that sounds good. I'm going to maybe write in specifically there from what you said, maybe helplessness. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, like kind of likes to be in control, maybe, or at least attempting to be in control. Nice. Robert, what does Serena want to be when she grows up?
I think Serena wants to become a teacher when she grows up.
Perfect. And yeah, and I'm just going to ask a couple of sort of free questions to kind of flesh out what her home life is like, what she's coming from. One thing I didn't go into actually, which I'll ask again around to everyone at this point, is we're not going to spend much time in the real world. It's very much a place to come from and return to, not somewhere we'll actually be spending much in-game time devoted to it. However, what will probably help guide us for the next couple of bits and pieces we do, and the manners and things like that we do, is there a sort of time period that people are interested in Serena coming from? So are we kind of, I mean, obviously, like they have like Alice in Wonderland, sort of classic Victorian era thing, something more mid 20th century, modern. Does anyone have any preferences there?
I don't know. I was thinking something like not quite like modern, like today's time, but maybe like 80s, 90s modern, to where like, she's not used to having all of the world's information at her fingertips, but still somewhat modern.
Yep, that sounds good to me. Is that cool with everyone else? Yep. So yeah, we'll say 80s maybe. You're going to go for that Stranger Things vibe, perhaps. That's cool. Right. So yeah, as I said, I'll just ask now a couple of questions just to flesh out sort of Serena's life. So we've already established that she comes from quite a big family. She has quite a lot of siblings. Ludo, do you think that she is the oldest child, or somewhere in the middle, or sort of does she have like one older sibling?
I will think that she is the de facto older sibling, but that changed very recently. So basically, her two oldest siblings left the house, and now she has been promoted to all these new responsibilities, but not as, at least as she sees it, none of the advantages.
Certainly, yep. So sort of essentially, kind of a former middle child, but now effectively the oldest child in the house. Yeah, that's cool. I'll just make a quick note of that. Cool. Yeah, Julie, what do her parents do for work?
Kind of like the idea of like one of them working in a school as like a librarian or something, and maybe the other one's like a mechanic.
Sure thing. Excellent. Yeah, Robert, what is Serena's favorite subject at school?
I think probably history. I think she likes to read a lot, and she likes it even more when the stories are somewhat real.
Excellent, thank you. Ludo, what does Serena hide from her parents?
I would say that she hides her intention to, as soon as she gets old enough, to leave the city and to move entirely out of the city. Because her oldest siblings, they just moved away, but it seems like they moved down 2 streets down, and they are still connected by an umbilical cord to the same dynamics of the family, and she feels like she wants to strike on her own.
Cool. That's nice, thank you. Julie, who's Serena's best friend, and why, and tell us a little bit about them, maybe.
I think it's like an old man that's her neighbor that she just kind of likes to escape from all the chaos of her family and go hang out on his porch and have lemonade or something. So
Cool.
I don't know what his name is, but if someone has a name idea, that's good.
Yeah.
How about Harold?
Yeah. Nice. And Robert, What does Serena like about her home?
I think she likes that. Well, even though she never gets any quiet time, she still likes that there's always people around. Like there's always somebody to talk to, and if she really needed something, there's always somebody there to help her.
Nice. So cool. I think we've got a bit of a picture of her building up. I guess my question now is there, do any of you have any questions you want to ask each other about her, or have any ideas of things that you'd like to feature in her sort of makeup that we don't yet have?
I think there is a part missing. Where did she go for peace? Is it Harold? Is it somewhere else?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, if anyone wants to leap in on that. Yeah, does she have like a secret den in the woods somewhere, or does she like to sit at the bus station, or
Maybe she sometimes like stays up really late and just like climbs out her window onto the roof. Just to have the quiet of night.
I like that, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, does anyone else have anything they want to sort of introduce or bring up? Cool. So the next bit of the girl that we need to define, or well, not part of the girl, I suppose, that we need to define, are the manners that she is expected to uphold. What being a girl means to her, essentially, or means to her, means to society. So just to I'll give a quick brief now on how these work, because they're quite important to how the game runs, essentially. So the idea is we'll come up between us with we'll decide between us. There's some preset manners in there. We'll decide on these 8 different manners that are things that young girls are expected to do or be or avoid. The idea with these, there's 2 moves. Well, there's one move that specifically ties into manners, and then one that comes up after the fact. So there's a move called Refuse to Mind Your Manners, which I'll just briefly read out to you now. It says, when you face a challenge by refusing to mind your manners, name the manner you're rebelling against, and you roll 2 dice. And then, depending on how you roll, the outcome of that action is sort of determined. And once you have rebelled against one of your manners, you'll put a little check in the box next to it on the character keeper there, and that'll strike it through. And once you've done that, you will then come up with a belief, which is a new. So each of the manners is essentially just a short phrase, and the idea is you come up with a belief that reflects how Serena has rebelled against that manner, and the lesson that she's sort of learned from how that worked out, essentially. And then that new belief then ties into a second move, which is called Stand Strong in Your Convictions, which is when you face a challenge by standing strong in your convictions, take 1 die for each relevant belief and roll. And again, it's a similar sort of thing. So both Refuse to Mind Your Manners and Stand Strong in Your Convictions are ways of achieving things in the game, sort of overcoming problems that I throw in your way. So that's sort of the central loop of the game is you start off by rebelling against these manners to create sort of your own identity in as represented by the beliefs, and then use those beliefs to further your do stuff, essentially, putting it in elegantly. So there's a big long list there in the drop down of all the different manners. As I said, these are things that are kind of expected by society. They're not even necessarily things that Serena herself believes in as we start, but they are things, I guess, that have been internalized and that are expectations put on her. So really you want to be picking ones that you're interested in breaking and subverting as we go. And obviously I'll be throwing challenges that allow you to do so. As I said, at this point, if there are any on there that you want to veto when they come up, feel free to do so. This is a collaborative exercise. Again, I will go around sort of in order asking people, but feel free to, like I said, if there's one that comes up that you don't really want to deal with, then say so, that's fine. Or if you just want to clarify what someone sees as being that the sort of core of that manner, or how we see that fitting into the world or into Serena's upbringing or whatever else, then we can have those sort of discussions as we go. But like I said, I will just be asking sort of around in turn again, just to keep things clear. So yeah, Julie, again, I will go back to you. Is there one of the manners on there that you're interested in seeing in the game?
I like young ladies must never act like boys. I think that's pretty fun.
Excellent. Cool. Yeah, and Robert, is there one there that you like the look of?
Yeah, I liked where'd it go? Young ladies must never brag or show off.
Cool. Cool. And yeah, Ludo?
I'm going to pick young ladies must always put others' needs before their own.
Yeah, that seems quite fitting with what we already know of Serena. Cool. And yeah, Julie, is there another one there you'd like?
Young ladies must never go into dark places.
Nice. Yeah, Robert.
Young ladies must never befriend monsters.
Perfect. Ludo.
Young ladies must always keep their feelings to themselves.
Perfect. Yeah, Julie. Is there another one you'd like to see, or if not, we can ask someone else.
I also kind of like young ladies must always follow instructions.
Yeah. Brilliant. And Robert.
I think young ladies must always look before they leap.
Excellent. Yeah, I think those look good. Does anyone have any sort of clarifications around any of that, or any thoughts on any of those? Feel free to chip in now. But no, cool. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting selection there. So the first thing we will do is we will narrate the beginning of the girl's journey into yeah, so we'll about her sort of journey into the underground and leaving behind the normal world. And so just to let you know up front, the idea is that the way the girl will find this doorway into her into the other world, into the underground, is by breaking one of those manners, and we'll rewrite a new belief then as well. So when we do this, we'll kind of I'll give you some I'll try and give you some opportunities to strike out against one of those manners, and once you do that, then we'll begin going through the portal. We'll then I'll then give you an opportunity to look at and choose the companions. Pardon, and then we will take a we'll take a quick break. And then we'll sort of get on with the game proper. So for this first bit, I'll probably just ask some questions, and we'll sort of describe a little bit of Serena's home life. So I guess well, no, I'll ask you. Where do you think what sort of the place that Serena lives in like? Is it a sort of fairly rural sort of village town, or does she live in sort of the big city, or a little suburban estate or similar? Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I was thinking probably something suburban, where they have big yards, lots of places to explore, but not quite out in the middle of nowhere.
Sure thing. Yeah, that sounds good. So obviously Serena has quite a few younger siblings at home. Is the house about big enough for them, or is it like really crowded inside? I'm imagining there's probably at least some sharing of bedrooms, but is what sort of house do you think? What do you think the house is like that she lives in?
I think it's fairly crowded. So like with her two siblings gone, maybe now she has her own bedroom, but the younger kids like are doubled up or something.
Yeah, cool. That sounds good. Yeah. So I think it's in the summer. School's on holiday. It's a nice warm day, perhaps a little still, a little listless and clammy. But the sun is shining. Birds are singing, and all that. So Serena's mum is home from work at the minute. She's not working over the summer. So she is here to mostly look after the children, although she obviously leans on Serena quite a bit to help out here. So Julie, what chore has Serena been given by her mum that she's supposed to be doing?
I think picking stuff from the garden. Like they like to grow a lot of their own food just so they have less to buy. So she's supposed to be taking care of that now.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I think she's maybe yeah, in fact, no, I will ask Robert, is she currently doing that job that she's supposed to be doing, or is she trying to put it off somehow?
I think she intended to do it, but I think she probably got caught up doing work that she wasn't supposed to be doing, but it just came up. Like, I think probably some of the siblings maybe started fighting over a toy or something, and she had to step in.
Yeah, so I think her her younger brothers and sister, they're I think there may be about 5, and they are twins. And yeah, they are they're fighting over over yeah, we'll say they've got like a He-Man figure that they're both fighting over. And I think her sister, who I will call Jackie, snatches it out of her brother John's hand, and then hits him around the face with it, and he starts to cry. Ludo, what does Serena do?
Stop that. It's always the same thing. I cannot leave any of you alone for one moment. You have to start something. Don't you want to go out and play? If you behave like this, you're going to be grounded. Me here, and none of us will be happy.
And John will sniff dramatically. Say, she started it. She took it away from me.
What? What did you took away?
And Jackie says, he wouldn't share. It was my turn to play with the He-Man, and he wouldn't let me. And they start sort of, not quite going at each other, but they're both kind of glaring at each other still.
Stop, you morons. Come on. When was the last time that you saw He-Man alone? You have to play together if you want to play with the He-Man.
Yeah, and I think they start grumbling, but kind of, settle down and start, playing about on the floor. So, Julie, what does Serena do next?
I think now she'll attempt to actually go out and get stuff from the garden, and maybe there's some other siblings in the backyard anyway.
Yeah. She gets out, and there's rows of lettuces and tomatoes and stuff growing. I was trying to think of summer crops growing in rows, and I think she is digging out a couple of lettuces. She's got sort of the gardening fork in there. She's scooping out the leaves, and it's quite sticky out. It's hot, but it's not like hugely laborious work that she's having to do, so it's not too bad. He's got those big white butterflies just sort of lazily fluttering about over the cabbage patch, and a clod of dirt will hit Serena in the side of the head as she sees her brother Toby, who is, I think, we'll say 10 years old, is hurls this over kind of the from the other side of a hedge, sort of around the vegetable garden, and starts cackling. Says, "Got you."
Toby, do you want to do this? Because somebody's got to do this, and if it's not me, it's gonna be you. You better stop.
Oh yeah, make me. And I think he hurls another clod of dirt at Serena, and starts to sort of run away. Robert, what does Serena do?
I think she's already got her hands dirty, so she just gets like an even bigger clump of dirt and throws it at him as he's running away.
Yep, and I think it's it catches it. He kind of looks back to, and he's kind of he turns back and sort of blows a raspberry, and the clod of dirt catches him sort of square in the cheek, and can see the dirt splatter all across his face, and there must have been like a pebble or something in there, and you just see kind of just a little scratch, but you just see a little blood, and it does that immediate moment where for a moment he just like looks shocked, and then sort of turns on the waterworks and starts running back towards the house and says, "Mum, Serena just threw mud at me," and he's sort of sobbing, but he's covered in mud and a little bit of blood down his face as he runs it back into the house. Ludo, what does Serena do?
She just releases this exasperated sigh. She realized that if she goes around them, tapping every single time they start making noise or complaining, she'll not get her chores done, and then she'll actually hear from their parents, and for good reason. So she just tries to go into her happy place mentally and just grow through her day doing the chores so that she can get away from all this noise.
Excellent. Yeah. So I think a couple of minutes later, her mum will storm out, and she's not looking like furious, but she's just looking like fed up, and she says, "Come on, Serena, you were supposed to have got that stuff ready by now. I'm trying to get lunch on the table. I don't need you throwing rocks at your brother, okay? Just can you at least try and just help me out here, please?" Julie, how does Serena respond?
Okay, Mom. Doing my best here. I mean, just, there's a lot of kids around here. It's making it difficult, but yeah, I'll try to just get the food ready, and then we can have lunch. But then, like, her mom maybe turns around and she, like, sticks her tongue out at her and, like, gives her brother a look.
Yeah. And her mum sort of drags her brother back inside, sort of rubbing at his face with like a damp cloth she's had in her hand, getting the mud out and cleaning up the wound a bit, such that it is. So I think we'll move forward slightly, and Serena's got the lunch. Has got like the stuff in, and her mum sort of made a salad, and everyone's sort of sat around at the table eating lunch, like I said, salad and sandwiches and stuff. I think the two twins are both squabbling with each other. And kind of just generally messing about a bit. And Toby will kind of glare, is glaring daggers at Serena all through the meal. When her mum gets up to go and fetch a bottle of juice from the fridge, he kicks her squarely in the shin under the table. Robert, what does Serena do?
I think she just lets out a yelp, and then like almost like threateningly, it's like, Toby, if you keep this up, I'm gonna kick you back, and you're not gonna like it.
And her mum just sort of slams the bottle down on the table and says, "I've had just about enough from all of you today. Can you at least try and be civil at the dinner table? Don't threaten your brother, Serena. Look, just take the rest of your food to your bedroom, and you can stay there the rest of the afternoon. Okay."
Fine. Finally, I can get some peace and quiet. That's all I've wanted all day.
Cool. So, Ludo, Serena is in her bedroom. It's small. It's sort of just a box room, really, but it is at least her own space. I'm going to ask each one of you actually first just to describe one thing that we see in the room. Ludo, I will start with you this time. Actually, what's one of the things that we see in Serena's room?
So we see a well-turned volume of history of the world and another well-used book which seems to be gloating across the ages.
Excellent. Cool. And Julie, what's another thing we see in Serena's room?
I think she has a snow globe, maybe from like a grandparent or something when they went to some major city. She just keeps that like right by her bedside to look at a lot.
Cool. What city do you think it is?
I don't know. Let's just say New York.
Cool. Yeah. Sort of a Empire State Building or something with snow falling around it. Cool. And Robert, what else do we see in Serena's room?
I think she has like a desk where she probably sits to do her schoolwork and to do any reading, and I think it's just like very, very well taken care of. Like everything has its own little place, and she has it all like perfectly in order.
Excellent. So yeah, it's hot and close in the room. Maybe the window's open, but there's not much of a breeze coming in outside. We can hear some bees buzzing, birds cheeping. It's got that smell. You can maybe hear just slightly in the distance the sound of someone running a lawnmower, and you can smell that scent of freshly cut grass coming in through the window. Ludo, what is Serena doing?
She's opened the window and squeezing her way out to climb all the way to the roof to get a good stare at the sprawling suburbia, the occasional lights, the weird quietness under the stars, and to get actually some fresh air after this entire day cooped or under the sun working on the garden.
Excellent. And I think as she's sat there on the roof, I think she sees like a shooting star streaking through the sky. And as she watches that, she notices down in the hedgerows near the vegetable patch, actually, where she was gardening, earlier. Some like glowing. It looks like maybe fireflies or something fluttering around around the vegetable patch. Julie, what does Serena do?
I think she'd like lean back in her window to grab a flashlight that she always has, and then kind of like climb down the trellis to go investigate the thing in the garden.
Excellent. And I feel like, yeah, I think that's cool. And I think she follows as she goes down to the vegetable patch. You see, these like fluttering lights flickering around, and then I think they actually like merge. It's almost like they've flown sort of into the hedge into the garden next door, which is probably Harold's garden, to be honest. There is a I think there is a like a she could sort of crawl underneath the hedgerow to get to the garden where these have gone through. It's kind of quite dark and tangled with you know vines isn't the word I'm looking for, but branches and stuff, but you could probably fit under there. Robert, what does Serena do?
I think she would try to climb under to go over to the garden, because I think she probably also helps tend to Harold's garden anyway. So
Yeah.
she's probably curious about what's going on over there.
Yeah, certainly. And as she follows these, as she sort of crawls out through the hedgerow and comes out the other side, got a few bits of twig and leaf sort of matted into her hair. But she comes up the other side and she sees the lights again darting around. You know, those sort of the I can't remember what the words are, but those sort of cellar entrances that you get from on the outside of the house, the sort of big, like almost like trapdoor style doors. They seem to be fluttering around that, and the trapdoor itself actually seems to have been left open. Harold clearly didn't close it last time he got something out. So yeah, Ludo. What does Serena do?
Who's there? And she calls back, and if nobody answers, she's going to run after them.
Yep, certainly. Yeah, no, there won't be any response. So, and yeah, and I think as she gets closer, those flickering lights disappear down into the basement, down into the cellar. It's dark down there. She can't actually see anything. These aren't sort of they're bright in the glowing sense, but not in the actually shedding light sense. So it's but yeah, they seem to be down somewhere in the gloom of the cellar.
And she seems to look around, hesitate a bit, calls to the emptiness of the night to see if there is anyone around, half to help her, half so that she's sure none of the younger kids came after her and is going to snitch. And as she sees that she's alone, she goes underground.
Excellent. So she heads down into the cellar, and for a moment, the darkness obscures her entirely. Like, it's like even like there doesn't seem to be any light coming from the lantern. It's that if you've ever been properly down into a cave or something where there's absolutely no natural light, and it's not even enough like light to make out sort of the walls around you. It's sort of that dark. And then maybe she feels around for a moment, and there is just ahead of her a glimmer of light. Julie, what does she do?
Oh, she's definitely going for that light now. So I think she'll just go as quickly as she can with her hands out in front of her to make sure she doesn't run into anything towards the light.
Yeah. The ground feels rough and slightly unstable under her feet, but she's able to make it across okay, feeling out for it. As she gets closer, the light gets brighter and brighter, and for a moment the glare is so bright that she can't really see much at all, but blinks it away. And it's can just smell the scent of salt on the air and hear waves lapping as she appears to be on a beach, and it is bright daylight. And that's where we'll leave that for the moment. So I think the unless anyone wants to call for a different mana to break here, I think that the mana that Serena has broken here is probably young ladies must never go into dark places, though if someone thinks another one's more appropriate, feel free to suggest that instead. Cool. So what I will do now is I will mark that one off. And now this one you can do between you. You can think of a new belief that Serena may have learnt based on what's just happened to her. So this would be something. It doesn't necessarily have to be a complete mirror to what the mana was. It should sort of be related to the mana and related to what she has learnt. So I mean, like an example might be. I'm trying to think of a good example. An example might be something like sometimes the darkness holds secrets or something like that. That's not a particularly evocative example, but that's the idea of the sort of thing that you could go for. Does anyone have any ideas for our first belief?
Sometimes you must be the one bringing a light to the dark.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Is everyone else happy with that one? Yeah, cool. So yeah, like I said, the way these work now is now you have the beliefs. You can now use the stand strong in your convictions when you think you have a belief that fits the situation well. And that again, with something like this, that can be either literal or figurative. So it could be, if you're trying to like, help out in someone's hour of need, then you could maybe call on that, or you could literally use it when it's dark and you have a torch. It can work both ways. Cool. So what we're going to do now is I will introduce the companions. I'll get people to have a look at the companions and see which one they might like to play. Then we'll take a break, probably about a 10-minute or so break, during which time, if you wish to, you can start filling out the details of the companion you've chosen. But obviously, if you just want to take the full 10 minutes to just get away from the computer, then that's also cool. Don't feel that you have to do homework. And then when we come back, we'll introduce those characters, and then I'll explain how the rest of the game will go. Cool. So I will just quickly go through the companions that we have here. So the way that the companions and the girl herself works is. So again, depending on how much other PBTA games you've played, on these character sheets, you will have a number of moves here. In this game, because it's designed to be played as a one-shot, and the moves are quite specific in what they do, you actually start play with all of the moves on your companion sheet available to you. You don't have to pick which ones you want or whatever. You just have access to all of them, and when they come up, you can activate them as you desire. But yes, the the companions that we have available are the beastie. The beastie is a talking animal. They are, to all intents and purposes, a regular animal, except that they can talk. They, in particular, kind of, this is inspired by things like, various talking animal type characters, things like the Cheshire Cat and that sort of thing. In particular, their sort of thing, each of these companions sort of has a bit of a theme to them, I suppose. So one of the beasties things that they deal with a lot is interacting with, authority in general, both interacting with authority figures and also being kind of authoritative in their own right. So authority is kind of a big thing around that character. There's the construct. This is a being that was once not alive, was an inanimate object, but has been granted life. So kind of like the Tin Man or the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz. The idea with the construct is that they play around a lot with the idea of what it means to be alive and what it's like, what it means to have a body and to embody something, that kind of thing. There is the faun. The faun is could be a literal faun, sort of, half man, half goat, but it can be half man, half anything really. So you could have, something that's more like a half man, half snake, and go for kind of a what do you call it? Not Medusa, but yeah, that sort of thing. Or even like you can be half man, half fire, and maybe be some sort of djinn or something like that. And the idea with them is that they're kind of torn between their two halves, and there's a lot of fluidity to the character. And also there's quite a bit of kind of letting loose of the bounds of sort of morals and humanity and stuff in there as well. There is the mythic, who is the last of their kind, a kind of mythical creature like a dragon or a Pegasus or something like that. But who is both of the last of their kind, and has also been brought low by something, so they're no longer technically able to fly, I believe, is one of their things. And they deal with a lot of stuff around both heritage and sacrifice as well. There is the ogre, who is an ogre or a giant or something similar. They're big, they're large, they take up a lot of space, and they sort of play around with the ideas of how much space you take up, both sort of literally and metaphorically. Sort of the some things around like shyness and being the center of attention and that sort of idea. And finally, there's the runaway. This is your sort of like Peter Pan type character. They are essentially another human child who has run away to the underground before, but they have been here longer. They've been here for a while now. They're a more adventurous character, but they also play around with the ideas of fear and running away from something, as the name would suggest, and kind of avoiding reality in some ways. So those are the 6 playbooks, 6 companions. I'll just go around and ask if anyone has any preferences for those. Julie, are there any of those that are calling out to you?
Not yet. Got to think about it a little.
Yeah, no worries. Robert, how about you?
I'm trying to decide between the construct and the faun.
Cool. Yeah, they're both cool. Yep. Excellent. And how about you, Ludo?
I'm thinking between the bestie and the ogre.
Yeah, cool. Any thoughts from you, Julie, or do you want to take a minute still to look through?
No, I think I like the runaway now.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I like the runaway a lot. It's the one I played when I played this before. It's a fun playbook. Cool. So I think the mythic. I think no one had a preference for the mythic, so I'll hide them from the thing. So, and I think Robert and Ludo, your choices were entirely compatible. But I think you both were thinking between two different ones. So, if you want to make up your mind now, then feel free. Or if you want to give it a moment to think over, then that's cool too. Yeah, Robert, do you think you know which one you'd prefer to go for?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the fawn.
Cool. I will hide the construct. And Ludo, yourself.
I'm gonna go with the bestie.
Yeah, cool. And I'll hide the ogre. Cool. So as I say, I will now call a 10-minute break. As I say, feel free to start looking through the tab for your particular companion and filling them in if you want. But like I said, we'll do that. We'll do that when we get back as well. So don't feel that you have to do that now. So yeah, yeah. See you all back in 10 minutes. I'm just going. Well, welcome back. Sorry, I was a few minutes there just eating dinner, but I am good to go now. So I'm just going to okay, yes. So as I say, the next thing we'll do is to detail out your companions, and then in a moment we'll introduce those into the story. So with the companions, you'll see there's a list of options for you to choose on there to give a few details about them, particular ones of interest to the game in general. You'll see one on there is everyone I think has one thing that you kind of want to find from this journey, and one and a situation that you find yourself in, or rather a situation that Serena will find you in when she first encounters you, some sort of problem that's currently complicating your life. So those ones are particularly relevant to sort of how your sort of role in the story, as it were, and the others obviously kind of give some character detail that we'll play with. As I say, you will start with all of the moves that are on your sheet, and whenever you think one of those has been triggered, then feel free to mention it. And obviously, if you want to kind of guide a scene towards one of those actions, then that is also cool. One I will call out in particular, I think this is the same for all of your characters. Well, it's not exactly the same, but the first move on your sheet will say it's about helping the girl. The way that these ones work is if you do whatever the action is that triggers your particular move, then you essentially assist the girl, and that will let her re-roll if she's attempting an action using one of her moves. That's a sort of aiding roll. The other moves you have will do various different things depending on exactly what they are. And finally, each of you will have, again, probably 5 agendas on your character sheet that just kind of give you a hints as to what sort of thing you should be doing to kind of complicate and expand on the story and sort of play into your tropes. So that's the look at the characters there. So yeah, if you I'm just going to have a quick look in, and I think everyone has filled out their stuff. So I will ask each of you to just give a quick introduction to your character, and then I will explain sort of how we go forward from here. So I'll go through in Character Keeper order now in companions, as I have that in front of me. So, firstly, Ludo, if you would like to introduce our beastie.
So the animal that our beastie is an alpaca, which is also their name, but when they are getting snooty, they demand to be called Professor Alpaca Carmine. They tend to get in trouble because of their curiosity, and before they became a talking animal, they used to be a regular non-talking, spitting only alpaca, but they learned to speak so that they could ask questions. And they have learned a lot about this world, traveling around and getting into trouble, and they are looking for a student that they hope to find to which to transmit this knowledge. Unfortunately, on their quest for knowledge, they got caught by someone that only saw them as a curiosity, and now they have been forced in the position of a resentful pet, much to their shame and growing frustration.
Excellent, thank you. And next is our fawn.
Yeah, so I'm playing the fawn named Morea, and she is part human, part plant. And I was thinking that maybe she was also at one point a normal child that found this place and was transformed somehow into this part plant, part human creature, I guess you could call her. She finds it very hard to resist a chance to show off. She's very proud of her plant abilities and her plant form. But she does hope that this journey can give her the chance to one day transform back into a normal child and kind of go, as much fun as it is to have fun all the time, it's a bit too much for her. So the one thing she wishes that she wants from this journey is for her own wish to be granted.
Excellent.
And yeah, then the state that I chose when the girl finds you, the state you're in, I just put exhausted from revelry.
That sounds good. Excellent, thank you. And finally, our runaway, Julie.
Okay, so I'm gonna play the runaway Frank, and I decided he ran away from his parents because it was just after like World War II and they lost his older brother, and his parents are just kind of like he was the favorite child and they don't really care about Frank anymore. So I'm imagining he's like 14 or 15, so a little bit older than Serena, but the part of him that's been changed since he's been near is his eyes, like as he's forgotten about his family and all the trouble in the real world, like now his eyes are like sparkling again, so he's actually enjoying it here and everything. He really wants to just climb the highest mountain, like see everything he can see and experience life, but at the same time, like he wants a place to call home because he doesn't have a home anymore since he ran away. But when the girl finds him, he's just like craving adventure, like trying to figure out what to do next.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, yes. So what we're going to do now is we will run 3 fairly quick scenes, during which the girl Serena will discover each of her new companions and help them out of whatever predicament they currently find themselves in, and travel on to seek out adventure and all that good stuff. So I will quickly actually, this is before we leap into this bit, I will again just introduce another one of the girl moves. This is called merry-go-round. So it's quite simple really, but the idea with merry-go-round is when you wish to introduce your companion to the scene, or you wish for someone else to have the spotlight, pass the girl playbook to another player of your choosing, and they are now playing the girl. So this is basically a way to keep the role of the girl shifting around between all of you as we play, and we will do that. So the way this will start, I will ask for a volunteer or select somebody to start off playing the girl. As you begin to explore the world, you will then meet your first companion, and at that point you may wish to move the girl to another character so that your companion can then be brought in, or introduce the other character first. Whichever way around it works, really, is fine. And then we'll sort of get into basically a rhythm of just switching off between playing the girl and playing your companion between the three of you. The one thing that I realize I have forgotten to do, and apologies for that, is to just have a quick discussion on our safety tools that we'll be using today. So I'll do that now quickly, just before we get any further in. So apologies for not doing this earlier, but obviously we've had a discussion prior to this about lines and veils. Those are available in the character keeper if you need to reference them, just to remind yourself. Also, if you do want to add anything to that, if if we start heading towards something, think, oh, actually, now that we've been playing a bit, I've realized there's another thing that I don't want to come up. Feel free to add it into the lines and veils. I just ask that if you do, you can just message me and just let me know that you've added something, just so that just in case I don't sort of go back and check. But again, you don't have to announce that publicly if you don't want to. You can just add it and let me know. So in terms of actual safety tools themselves, primarily the safety tools we'll be using in this game is the script change tool by Bo Sheldon. This is there is a little PDF of this in the shared folder I've shared with you all, if you want to have a quick look at it. But it's essentially it uses a series of sort of like remote control commands to mediate the game. All of these will kind of basically break us briefly into out of character talk, so we can always have just a bit of a discussion about it if we need to sort something out. Primarily, the first one is pause. If someone calls a pause, we will just take a moment and stop what we're doing. We'll then just have a quick out of character discussion about if there's any problems, or just if there's something you think, oh, actually, if there's something you need to clarify, if you want to say, maybe can we take the scene in a different direction, anything like that. It's basically just a signal to us that we're going to step out to an out of character discussion for a moment, listen to what people have to say, and then move on again afterwards. Or even just if a scene's getting particularly intense and you just want to take like a minute to breathe, you could also just call pause and we'll just have a moment and then go back into it. That's fine too. We also the other commands that will be sort of like might come up. There is fast forward. This is basically just to say, can we just move past this? So this can be used sort of again if there's like essentially some sort of content you want to veil. If there's just something, it's like, I don't want a big in-depth discussion of this thing. Can we just move on and assume this thing happened, but we'll just move past it. That's fine. Or if you feel like a scene's just kind of got a bit circular and it's not really moving anywhere, and you just want to like get on to the next bit, fast forward can also be used for that. Rewind can be used if you want to make a change to something that's just happened. So it might be like, say, actually, I'd rather we didn't like have the scene resolve like this. Can we maybe try doing it in a different way? Or it could just be, I'd like to rewind. I actually realized that what I said isn't quite the way I wanted to phrase it. Can I put it a bit differently? That's also cool. And the other one that's frame by frame. This is basically just to say maybe we're sort of veering towards content that you're a bit potentially a bit sensitive to, or just you want to make sure that you know what's going on. Basically, if we use frame by frame, it just means we'll just take the scene a bit slower. We'll stop in periodically to just check in with everyone and make sure everyone's cool with where we're going. Finally, we also have the X card available. The X card is basically just a way of stopping everything for a moment and excising some content if it's something we don't want to see in the game. You can invoke the X card by holding up your hands in sort of an X formation, just saying I'd like to X card that, or putting something in the Jitsi chat to just say I'd like to X card it. If you X card something, I won't ask you to justify yourself. I might ask you to clarify what it is in that particular moment that you are Xing, so that we know to avoid it going forward or whatever. But you don't have to say why you want to X. Just the fact that you do is explanation enough. Don't feel bad if you do have to X card something. And likewise, if something that you bring into the game is X carded, so don't take it as like a personal thing. Just accept it. We'll we'll excise that content. We'll just move on with it. Cool. So anyway, sorry, I should have done that at the beginning, but there's a lot in this game, and I tend to forget bits and pieces. So with all that said, yes, what we'll be doing now is we'll be having some quick scenes, introducing our companions, oh yeah, the other thing I do just want to point out as well, particularly in this game, because we have the shared character of Serena. Like, don't be shy about kind of getting essentially enthusiastic consent for stuff you want to do. If there's a thing you want to do, like particularly like I said when playing as Serena, but not necessarily just then, and you're not sure if other people are going to be happy with it, feel free to just like again call a pause or whatever and just say, hey, I think it would be interesting if this happened. Is everyone cool with that? And then we can move on. That's sort of the best way of handling it, I think. So yeah, with all that said, does anyone want to start off playing as Serena? No, otherwise I will go back to the good old character keeper. So Ludo, are you happy to start off playing as Serena?
Yeah, or if Robert can start, then we can introduce the companions by the keeper's order.
Yeah, I can start.
Yep, cool. Yep, whichever way works. Cool. One. Sorry about that. So, yes, Serena emerges from the cave. It wasn't a cave when she went into it, or so she thought, but it's definitely a cave now. As I say, there's soft sand under her feet. There is the sea lapping up against the shore. It's bright and sunny, and the lights glinting off the waves as they crash against the shore. There is sort of a cliff behind Serena where this cave is. Other than that, the beach kind of it's in sort of a smallish sort of horseshoe bay that goes off sort of either side from the cave. So yes, Serena, what do you do?
I think Serena would probably be looking for. I think she'd be confused about where she's at. So I think she'd be almost looking for just some other person or somebody that would know something about what place this is.
Certainly. One thing you will notice, I think this is probably something Serena will, as you're kind of looking around, shining a light into the cave that you exited from, you will see that it doesn't look like there is like a tunnel in the cave. It looks just sealed off. Just like a hollow. There doesn't seem to be another entrance or exit from it, other than the one you've just come out of. As you head, I think you head along the beach a little way, and you spot a man in a white suit and a white pith helmet. he is leading an alpaca that has some, packages strung over its back, and he will turn to you as you come along the beach and say, "Ah, why, hello there, young girl. Didn't see you there. The name's Francis Lightfeather, explorer extraordinaire. To whom do I have the pleasure of addressing?"
Hello, sir. My name's Serena.
Serena, eh? Nice to meet you. I've just been on a bit of an expedition myself, just loading up the old alpaca here, and he pats Alpaca's head.
Yeah, that's an interesting animal. I've never seen something like that.
Yes, well, it's quite unique indeed. A llama, I believe.
Oh, I think I've read about llamas in books. Are they from around here?
Well, no, not around here. No. But well, you see, I am, as I may have explained, the world's foremost explorer. There is very few places I haven't been across this wide world. And yes, I brought this beast back on from one of my travels to the mysterious mountains off in the Forbidden West.
So, well, what do you actually? Where are we right now then?
Well, I've decided to call this place the Island of Flowers, on account of there's a big flower meadow just up the way. Island of Flowers, yes, I like that. And he pulls out a map and begins writing a name down on it.
So, actually, speaking of names, does your animal have a name?
I don't know. Do you have a name?
If I have a name, it's not for the likes of you to know.
Yes.
You have not earned the respect.
Your llama can talk. How can your llama talk? I mean, I guess I've never seen a llama. Do they all talk?
Well, it's certainly possible. This one definitely does talk when they put their mind to it, but it's a surly beast. Has little of value to say.
Well, so where do you plan on heading next then?
There's a great city across the other side of the sea that I have a mind to go and explore.
There's not much exploring if there are people living there, isn't it?
Yes, well, but I've not been there before, so it doesn't really count.
Well, Mr. Llama, are you going with him? What's your plan?
Well, I have no intentions to go into the city, but it seems to be my fate now to endure this companion. As you can see by his attitude towards himself, there is not much that can be gained from polite conversation.
Well, if you don't want to go with him, why are you here?
That's a good question. Why I'm with you? Do you mind telling the girl?
Well, because I need someone to carry my boxes, don't I? So that's why I bought this uncooperative beast. Honestly, I'd rather have found a non-talking llama.
See, he needs someone to carry his boxes. And the alpaca slows down every single syllable.
Well, I mean, you can get anybody to carry your... I mean, I don't know. I'm so confused. Like, why is there a talking llama? And couldn't you get a non-talking llama to carry your boxes? Wouldn't that be easier?
Not for the llama.
Look, little girl, this is it's really not your place to bother yourself with these things. I'm sure you have, I don't know, some crochet or something to be getting on with. I have important business to attend to, and I have journals to write and such. Yes, as I say, I need this beast to help carry my stuff. So,
Well, actually, sir, I'm kind of an explorer of my own. You know, I'm exploring too, and I could use a llama. And a talking llama would be really good on my journey, if it is a journey. I'm really just here to explore also.
you don't seem like an explorer to me. Young
Well,
ladies
then
don't
there are
really have
two
the
things.
yeah. So young ladies don't really have the fortitude for it, you know.
Well, I know I'm not supposed to be here, I don't think, but I'm here.
Well, just because you're here doesn't mean you can start questioning me and my beast of burden here.
Well, I welcome her questioning. Finally, someone is speaking sense.
I mean, I promise I won't explore the things you've explored. I'll just go and explore my own things, and that way we don't name the same things differently.
Well, I can't be doing with that. Exploring's my stock in trade, and I can't have you going around discovering other places. Otherwise, well, what would there be for me to explore?
Well, you could explore the same things I explored. You just can't name them, because I would have already named them. I mean, it's fair, right?
I don't know about that. It seems to me like you're trying to muscle in on my my turf, young lady, and well, I can't be having with that. Look, why don't you just run along and forget about all this nonsense about exploring?
Well, I mean, I don't have anything else to be doing, so that sounds like the best idea I've heard so far is to explore. And from what I've gathered, if you want to be an explorer here, you need a talking llama. So where can I go to get my own talking llama then?
As I say, the mysterious mountains to the west, but I doubt you'll find any more talking llamas there.
Well, why not? Did they go somewhere?
Well, didn't see many of them there, and just this one really. So
Because I was there exploring. But can you tell him that I too was an explorer? No, I'm just a beast.
if you're an explorer, you'd have a hat.
I had a hat. The idiot that you bought me from took it from me.
Well, anyway, I find this conversation quite tiresome.
Likewise.
I think it's interesting. How often do you get three explorers together in the same place?
Well, two explorers, and the alpaca winks at the girl.
Honestly, you know what? Take the belly, llama. I've had enough of your lip, both of you. And he unstraps the kind of boxes and piles them up in his arms and say, honestly, I've got far better things to do than spend my time prattling on with the likes of you. And he storms off into the distance.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Good luck. Well, Mr. Llama, I hope you don't mind exploring with me, or mind me exploring with you.
So the alpaca starts jumping around, happy to being released from the cargo. What is your name, girl?
Oh, my name's Serena.
Happy to meet you, Serena. My name is Professor Alpaca Carmine, and I'll be happy to be your collaborator as we go across the world and we meet the many interesting things and people and find what they have to tell us about their little corner of this amazing underground.
Oh, did you said professor? Are you a teacher? Can you teach me about this place too?
Yes, I am a teacher, mostly of myself.
Well, you were exploring here before me, so I guess where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? Ain't that the question that everyone asks? Um, so I'm going to use the horse's mouth to see if we can, if I know someone that can help us. And I have a 6. So there is this owl that lives in the astronomy observatorium, and they know pretty much the overall lay of the land, but we don't have a very good relationship. But you're a nice girl, Serena. You will probably convince them. I mean, they must be lonely all their time on that observatorium. I'm sure you'll make friends with them.
Well, that sounds like a good idea. I like making friends. The more friends, the better off we are.
Yeah, and they're gonna be asking me a debt, and they might find me. But David, feel free to drop that later once we introduce our companions.
Certainly. Cool. Sorry. Right. So, yeah, that's cool. So I think what we'll do here is, Robert, if you want to pass the girl on to Julie, if that's okay, and then we will discover our next companion, which is the fawn Morea. So, yes, the Francis Lightfeather mentioned a meadow of flowers, for which he named the island. And you will in fact see, as you sort of start to leave the beach, there's like a gently sloping hill, and it seems to be absolutely carpeted in flowers of all varieties of color and hue, and some like light, not woodlands even, but just like little copse of trees as well, with some vines and stuff growing in it. So yes, Serena, what do you do?
Oh my gosh, look at all these flowers. Like, wow, I've never seen so many before. And she just like runs into them and spins around and like falls on her back, but then ends up like tripping over something.
Yeah, and yeah, the flowers smell amazing. They smell. They obviously there is that floral scent, but there's also like other scents as well, like um, um, sort of the smell of like baking cakes and freshly washed laundry. And what other thing does Serena smell that's kind of comforting and um, pleasant?
I think just like campfire smell, like she just smells a little bit of smoke to add to that.
Nice, nice. And the scent of these flowers is it's almost sort of intoxicating. You can feel just like that kind of slight, almost giddiness and lightheadedness coming over Serena. And I think amidst this flower glade, we will see Morea. So yeah, Robert, if you would like to describe Morea and the state that Serena finds her in.
Yeah, I think well, Morea looks. I mean, she is part human. Probably even looks to be about the same age as Serena, and her hair is actually just made up of flowers, and her body itself is, there are parts that look human and parts that look plant-like. Like her skin is kind of very plant-like, but she is in the shape of a human. And I think when Serena comes across her, Morea is just laying like in this almost little clearing in the flowers, and she's kind of just dozing off, like almost like she's napping. She's just laying there, like arms and legs outstretched, like she just fell asleep exactly where she fell.
Nice. Yeah. So how does Serena react to this finding this strange figure in the flowers?
Uh, Mr. Llama person, do you see that thing over? Is that like a flower or I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. Have you?
Oh, we saw that, but that Edith Lightfeather just passed through it. She said that they could not tell anything about us. Maybe we should talk with her now. I mean, what harm can there be? This is her island, as much as anything is concerned, or as much as anyone can own an island. Why don't we introduce ourselves?
Okay. So I think Serena will just kind of like run up, but then realize she's sleeping and kind of hesitate, but then just kind of like nudge her in the side anyway.
She wakes up and very much just like stretches out, and she's like, well, I'm sleeping. What is this?
I'm sorry. I'm Serena. I'm new here, and is this your island?
No, this island belongs to the plants,
Are
as
you
does everything that the plants touch.
are you a plant?
Um, I'm friends with the plants.
Why do you have flowers like growing out of you then?
Well, because it's fun. They're pretty. You can do anything here. It's okay to just have fun. Actually, that's what I was doing before I fell asleep.
So what do you do here for fun?
Well, we can dance, we can sing, we can skip through the flowers, we can climb the trees, we can become trees, kind of. We can do anything.
Have you ever ventured far and explored more of this world?
Not really. I've been here for a little while, and well, I've just mostly stayed here and had fun.
Where did you come from?
It's complicated, but at some point, I just ended up here. I was just minding my own business, and I wanted to go and have fun, and now I've found a place to have fun.
Do you have any other friends, or are you just here all alone?
Well, the plants are my friends, the flowers are my friends.
Can you talk to them?
No, that's the wonderful thing about the flowers. You can sing to them and you can talk to them, and they don't really argue. Actually, I'm pretty sure that they very much like my music.
Well, how do you know if they don't say it?
Well, look at them. They're blooming, they're growing. I mean, if they didn't like music, if they didn't like having fun with me, they wouldn't look like this.
Well, we're going on a really fun adventure. You want to come with us?
Well, where are you going exactly?
Maybe to like find an owl or something. I don't know. I don't know. There's some woods back there on the other side of the field. Think we could head that way.
Well, there could be interesting plant friends to make over there. And I suppose I could help you. I mean, we could have fun together.
Yeah, it'll be lots of fun.
Hmm. And this friend of yours here, this creature,
I'm an alpaca.
alpaca.
Yeah, he thinks he's an alpaca, but this guy that gave him to me said he was a llama, so I don't know.
Oh, I don't know that I've ever met a talking llama.
Well, I never met a talking plant, so that's nice.
Well, I'm not completely a plant, but point well made. Well, I suppose I can come with you. I mean, there's only so much dancing and singing to do with these flowers. Maybe I should go and spread the joy of life to all the other plants.
Okay, then let's go. And I think maybe now I could hand off the girl, so then introduce my character.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, so yeah, who do you want to pass the girl on to? Or if someone wants to volunteer to take it on, that's cool as well.
Yeah, whoever wants it. Her.
I can take Serena.
Sounds good, yeah. So yes, Serena, where do you go next? So I think we mentioned there's some woods nearby. There are obviously other shores to this island.
We need to get a boat, or at least get an old log that we can push away from the woods and into the water. We need to get off this island.
Well, if we found a tree, I could probably help you make it into a boat.
Okay, I guess let's venture into the woods. Do you know these woods very well?
Well, some of the plants have told me. See, some of the seeds actually come from these woods, so they grew up here technically. So I've heard stories of the woods, but I've never been here personally.
So it's like you are visiting distant family.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Oh, I cannot wait to meet all your cousins. Come, let's go into the woods.
Yeah, and as you head into the woods, all oak trees here, their branches dancing gently in the wind, as the sort of light dapples down onto the path below. There are smaller trees growing up in between, and carpets of fern and mushrooms on the floor of the forest, and it has that deep earthy smell as you walk in. Yes, and where do we see where is Frank, our runaway, when the others come across him?
I think he's up on a tree, so maybe they're like inspecting trees, trying to find one to like cut down or something, and he just like jumps out of it and is suddenly in front of them, like, "Hey, what you guys up to?"
Oh, are you a boy?
Yup. Are you a girl?
Yeah. I'm surprised to see another kid around my age here. Where do you come from?
Wait. Oops, sorry. The tree. You just saw me jump out of it.
Oh, do you live in these woods?
Yup. For now. I don't know. I just kind of live wherever. Looks like you guys are up to something. What are you doing?
Oh, we are exploring. We are all a bunch of explorers. Seems you are also an explorer.
Yep, I've explored a lot of this place. Where are you trying to get to, or just looking around for now? Like, why are you looking at trees?
Well, we have been looking for a good tree to make into a boat. Do you have a boat? You must have come here somehow.
I don't have a boat, but actually, I know a downed tree a little further on that it should be dry enough. And, I always have a few tools in my bag, so I got an axe and stuff. We could make some kind of raft or something.
Oh, we don't need tools. I can help with that.
What do you mean?
Well, I'll just speak with it, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, little plant thing. Follow me.
Well, do you just use tools on anything you find and just transform them into whatever you want? It's
Yeah.
best to ask.
Uh, but okay, all right. My apologies, miss. And I can kind of just like lead everyone to this clearing with some like down trees and stuff. And then like look at Morea like, all right, make us a raft.
Perfect. And I think
Thank you, Frank.
Morea will want to use this as a chance to show off her powers. And I'm not sure which move this would be. Maybe release the beast. She's letting her plant side come out, and I think she would try to just like she'd probably do like a little dance, and then sort of like kind of have vines coming out of her hands and wrapping around this fallen oak tree to try to form it, have it like change shape somewhat into somewhat of a raft shaped tree.
Well, that was
Sorry, I
impressive.
muted. Yeah, so if you would like to roll, it will just be 2d6 straight for this. Most moves in this are just a straight 2d6, and not many things actually add a number to it.
Yeah, and that's a 5.
Okay. So on a 6, on a 6 minus. Okay, so you're asking me, what does your other half want to do instead? I think that what your other half wants to do, I think instead what you want to do is essentially just return this log to the forest so that the mushrooms can grow on it.
So I'm trying. So the plant part of me would want to basically bring this tree back up.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, so I think I do that whole song and dance and wrap my vines and tendrils around the tree, and instead of it turning into a boat, I think, yeah, it does just completely right itself up, and branches start sprouting out of it, and maybe even, some tree, some like flowers grow like instantly around its base, and then the mushrooms just sort of start growing along it.
Nice.
Well, I guess it's not a boat, but see, do you see what I did?
Well, you did well, but that is not exactly helpful. I guess we should let Frank try.
Well, you can't use your tools on it now. It's alive.
I mean, it wouldn't be alive if
Well,
not for you.
Exactly.
we can find. No arguing, please. I'm thankful for all of your help, but we don't need to use this one. We can find the dead one, right? That will be okay for everyone. Probably floats better.
Yeah, I guess let's just head back towards the ocean. There's usually some driftwood around where the river goes into it.
See? Is that not better?
Yeah, that's
We
a good
don't
idea.
have to argue. Let's go.
Excellent. Right. We'll call another 5-minute break there. See everyone back in 5 minutes, and then we will continue and begin exploring the world a bit more. So thank you very much, everyone, and see you all in 5 minutes. Cool. Welcome back, everyone. So now we are into the game proper. From this point onwards, we can obviously use the merry-go-round move to pass on the responsibility for playing the girl whenever you wish. Basically, sometimes it's an idea to do it after you've done one of the girl moves, but there's no specific requirements to do it. But just obviously keep it circulating amongst yourselves. As you are heading down towards the following this river away from the woods down to another beach, you see actually anchored in the cove, or at least resting in the cove, grounded in the cove might be a better term for it, what looks like a wrecked ship washed up against the beach. Though as you are heading down towards it, a large fluffy owl will descend from the sky and land on a small sort of tree branch in front of you. They are currently wearing pair of sunglasses, big round sunglasses, perched on the end of their beak. And the owl flutters down and puffs out his chest. It says, "And who do you think you are?"
So I went to pass Serena from merry-go-round.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take it.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Al. We're explorers, and I'm Serena.
Well, Serena the Explorer, I am sorry to say that you appear to have chosen a most unreliable travel companion.
I think Serena looks around at her companions and then it's just like, well, no, we didn't go with the other explorer. We're good explorers.
And he inclines his head towards Alpaca and says, "This one has been most tardy in returning some library books."
Come on, Mr. Wall. You have no idea what happened to me. I was in captivity, indentured servitude, little more than a beast. I will never delay be intentionally more than once.
Well, my care is not whether I do not care for the reasons that you may be delayed in returning your books. All that matters is that you return the books to me.
Well, we are at a bigger loss because when I was captured, they took my hat and my saddlebags and, of course, the library books.
Well, that will not do. I must insist that you return the books to me.
But I don't have the books, and Alpaca hides behind Serena.
Mr. Al, I mean, where I come from, sometimes if you can't return something, then you can offer something up in exchange, something different.
I see. And what would you offer me?
Well, that's a good question. I think she turns to Frank. It's like, hey, do you have anything? What do owls like?
So then Frank just kind of like pushes his way to the front. It's like, okay, Mr. Al, look, we just need this boat here. I don't care what you got going on with this alpaca. Like, you just need to get out of here. And like Frank kind of like threatens him, gets in his face.
The owl puffs up his chest again and says, "And you seem a most unmannerly lout as well. Really, I think you should find some better traveling companions, my dear lady."
She can travel with whoever she wants. And then can Frank kind of like, I don't know, rattle the boat or whatever the owl's sitting on to try and like get him to go away.
Sure thing, sure thing. Yeah, and I think that the owl will like flutter um, off of the branch and start circling around over your heads and say, "Really, this is most improper behavior. I have not seen the like. This is No, this is just quite improper.
Well, what would you have us bring you back instead of the books? What is it that you want?
Well, I've heard that there is a library of a sort in a far off land at the top of a mountain. There is a great deal of books have been held there. There is one in particular, an encyclopedia that I would like. Bring that to me, and I suppose I shall forgive your friend's debt.
Well, I think we can do that, but how do we get there?
Well, that is for you to deal with, I am afraid.
Well, luckily we're a bunch of explorers, so that's what we do. Isn't that right, Mr. Alpaca?
That's right. We'll find it in no time.
And then can Frank like start bragging like, yeah, I've been all over. Like I've probably been to this place before. I can take us like right there. So this will be great.
Well, then I bid you good day. And the owl will kind of wing off over the forest again. Yeah. And as I say, you can see down on the beach this what seems to be a shipwreck, more or less. But there does seem to be there's certainly a lot of wood there anyway.
Well, Frank, you said you had tools, right? You care to fashion a boat?
Well, I had tools to chop down trees more than tie them together. But maybe Morea can do her little bring things to life a bit and get us some vines or something to tie it up. Make a raft.
I guess I'll merry-go-round Serena if somebody wants to take her.
Yeah, I'll take Serena.
Cool.
So
And
Morea, do you think you can do that?
well, I mean, I can try. I mean, it's a boat. It's not quite a tree, but it was a tree once. So yeah, I think Morea will try her song and dance trick again.
Yeah. Actually, as you approach the boat, you will notice movement from on board, and a figure hails you from the deck of the ship. She's a woman, looks quite old, with long grey curly hair. She has a very moth-eaten captain's hat perched on her head. She has an eye patch, a hook hand, a peg leg. though the peg leg looks a little bit worm-eaten, and the hook on her hook hand is rusted. She says, avast ye there, landlubbers. What brings ye to my vessel? And she indicates the ship, which, as I say, it looks like a shipwreck, but now that you see it, it does actually seem to be sort of floating, if somewhat, if it is somewhat precarious and time ravaged.
Hello, Captain, I guess. Is that really a ship?
Well, it's got me this far. I've crossed the seas. And she looks kind of distracted for a bit. I've definitely crossed the seas. But that's no matter. What matters is where I'm going next.
So I went to use the bark is bigger to see what is the real deal with this captain.
Sure. Roll.
So I got a 6 again. So okay, ask the table. How do you dismiss my doubts? I'm not so sure about this captain. She does not seem to be very well aware of where she is at.
Well, I mean, what else could she be? Looks like a captain, talks like a captain.
She does kind of have a boat, I guess.
I guess that's the most important thing about being a captain. Just be careful. Can be a trap.
So then I think Serena just turns back, like, can your boat even float anymore?
I'm pretty sure it can. It certainly got me here, and just need to lash a few bits together, and she sort of gestures at a couple of the bits where sort of it's slightly more collapsing than others. But well, why don't you ask her yourself? And she gestures towards the ship's figurehead.
Wait, your ship can talk?
Aye, of course. Journeys would get frightfully dull if she couldn't.
What can't talk here? Goodness. So then I guess Serena addresses the ship now, like, excuse me, Miss Ship Lady, how can we help you?
Oh, I don't know really. The figurehead. Yeah, tell me, Serena. Something about the ship's figurehead reminds you of the doll that you stole from your little sister, or reclaimed, depending on how you want to frame it. What is it?
I think it has, like, the detail of, like, a similar kind of neckline, like I don't know, just kind of like woven braid around the neck, like the doll has
Yeah,
on her dress.
cool. And yeah, the figurehead. It says, I must admit, I don't really remember where I don't really remember what I did want, but I mean, now I'm here. Sailing is quite fun. You get to see all sorts of exciting places.
Do you think you could take us sailing with you?
Of course. I could do with some repairs if you don't mind. The time hasn't been kind, really. We've had a few run-ins with this and that over the years. Sea monsters and icebergs and the like. But well, if you don't mind getting your hands a little dirty, then could do with a bit of patching up down in the bilges.
No, not at all. That sounds super fun. I love getting my hands dirty.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and if you head down into you can. There are some tools and some planks and stuff down there that you can start making some repairs if you would like. And this is probably, I think I'll skip into this. I'm going to say this is probably. I think you could definitely call in refusing to mind the manners of young ladies must never act like boys for this, perhaps, for kind of getting hands on and fixing this ship. Or if you have another approach you wish to take, that's also cool. But that's
No, that's what I was going for. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, what you can do now is also if anyone wants to use one of their aiding moves on this, then you can certainly do so. If you can bring it into the fiction, and then yeah, I will ask for a roll to break manners. So that will just be a straight up 2d6.
Sorry, it took me a second to roll. 9.
No, it's 9. Okay, so on a 7 on a 7 up, you can say how you overcome the challenge. So what does it look like when you're kind of doing this manual labor?
I think Serena just like found the pieces she needed and just kind of like hammers and repairs the boat and gets it all nice and together again.
Yeah, cool. But on the 7 to 9, how do you falter or go too far in the process?
I think maybe she's like trying to hit some nails in too hard and kind of like dents and cracks a little bit some of the planks.
Sure thing, yeah. So it's kind of serviceable, but a little rough and ready around the edges. That's cool. Yes. So now we get to mark off. Young ladies must never act like boys, and you get to write a belief that sort of relates to that and what you've learned about Serena from this action.
Just maybe like young ladies can do anything that boys can.
Yeah, that's good. Or yeah, maybe just girls can do anything that boys can. Yeah, that sounds good.
Then I think I want to merry-go-round at this point.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, who do you want to pass that to? Or is there does anyone wish to volunteer at this point?
I can take Serena.
Cool. Yeah, so I think the ship gets underway and starts to cross the ocean. The captain is at the helm of the ship. Occasionally staring off into the distance with an old battered telescope. Though she doesn't really seem to be consulting any maps. Just seems to be following what you're not sure.
What are you looking for, Captain? Land? Something else? Sea monsters?
I'm looking for the way I'm going. I'm never quite sure where it is until I find it, you see.
Well, when I don't know where I'm going, usually that means it's time to sing or dance or have fun, and then the way forward just appears. And I think so. I want to lean toward the fawn's move of Wild Rumpus.
Sure thing.
So roll when you sing, dance, or otherwise engage in boisterous merrymaking.
Perfect.
So yeah, I think Morea would be trying to lead the boat in some sort of sea shanty or who knows what kind of boat party.
Excellent. Yep, that sounds good. So yeah, roll 2d6.
Yeah, so that's a 7.
A 7, cool. So on the 7 plus, who joins your revelry and what help do they offer?
Yeah, and I think at least the boat captain and probably the ship. I think the ship itself starts to sing.
Yeah, that sounds cool. What help do they offer you?
So offering in the way of like the singing and dancing, or help in general.
No, they can. Yeah, you can basically they can do something for you or offer you information or something.
So I think Morea starts this, this singing and dancing, and she starts singing a song just about the sea in general, and she trails off at some point, and then the figurehead of the boat starts singing, and she starts singing actually about someplace that she knows of that's nearby, some land where you can see the mountains all the way from the sea.
Yeah. And the captain is like singing along and then gets a strange look in her eye and says, I know there's a port not far from those mountains, a great city with towers that reach the very sky themselves. I must have been there before, but I remember little of where I've been these days. Just keep sailing.
That sounds like New York. I want to see it now.
Perhaps. But I'll take you there. But I ask one thing from you, y'all, which is if you get an idea of who I may be, then perhaps you could tell me, or tell the ship at least. She'll probably remember. I may not.
Huh. I wonder who might know such an amazing captain and this unusual ship. Do any of you has any idea?
Well, there's that library. Perhaps there's books on famous captains.
Well, it makes sense, and someone must have made this ship once. Maybe there are shipwrights on the city.
I mean, do we want to go to a library or do we want to go to the city? The city sounds really cool.
I definitely want to go to the city.
Well, I'm in favor of going to a city, and really, if you think about it, a city is like a library. Each person is its own story.
Indeed. I promise you, Captain, I'll find who you are.
Thank you. And I think the journey continues, and you make your way across the sea. You pull into the docks of a vast city on the sea. It does indeed look a bit like New York, but not quite. The buildings look more old-fashioned in a way, but yeah, it definitely has that sort of feel. Lots of very tall towers, and though what strikes you as odd as you disembark and head into the city is that there seems to be almost like a thin layer of dust over most things, and you can see footprints in it. It's people, and you can see some people kind of shuffling around, but as you walk past the shop windows, some of the goods in there seem to be slightly yellowed, and there's a kind of almost like sepia wash over the whole city. The people you see seem to be mostly ignoring you and each other and just sort of trudging around almost in a sort of like almost sleepwalking around the city.
Could I use the wearied traveler thing to try and seek a location's secrets and hidden treasures, just to figure out kind of what's going on here? Or
yes, certainly, that sounds perfect.
okay, so Frank's like, all right, like we need to just evaluate this place.
Awesome. So yeah, you get to roll 2d6 for that.
9.
9. Okay, so what we'll do here is you get to say what you find and how you discover it, though I get to tell you what is currently keeping you from recovering it.
I think I noticed like a glowing coming from the sewer alongside of the street. Like there's just like this faint blue glow down there.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So I think, yeah, you see this odd glow coming from down in the sewers, and I think maybe Frank starts to head over to it, but as you approach the sewer, the manhole cover almost like flies off and slams into the ground with a big clang, and pulling itself out of the sewer is a giant pale alligator. It's big. It's like several meters long. And so its skin is thick and leathery, but rather than being that kind of dark green, it's almost white, but kind of a sickly pale color, and it has like red eyes. And it growls, "This here's my sewer. What are you doing here?"
Oh, finally someone that is not just dream walking. And Serena just advances and extends her hand. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Alligator. My name is Serena.
And I think the alligator doesn't bite you, but it snaps at your hand and says, "What are you doing here? This is my turf."
Well, it's your turf, so I think we should introduce ourselves.
Really? You people are all the same. You're trying to put me in a cage.
I
Now
think
be gone.
Oh, sorry. think maybe I kind of like nudge Morea, like, why don't you talk to him? You're not a people.
Well, kind of. So yeah, Morea walks up and, I mean, these people are good. Some people are good. Most people are good. You've just had bad experiences.
I don't believe you. Now, get before I have to show you what my teeth are for. And it bites, sort of snaps around again at you, and kind of makes an angry, growly, hissy noise.
Serena, let's fight him.
No, I know this because I've been like this. You just want to be alone, is it not?
Wouldn't it be fun? We could wrestle an alligator.
Well, I admit that will be fun, but how about we do that with their permission?
Cool. Right. So I think what we'll have here is, I think there's a roll to move this, because I think this is very definitely breaking the manner of young ladies must never befriend monsters.
Okay.
So we will see how this goes. And once
I
again, if
12.
anyone, oh, cool. Yeah, the aid rolls are not very relevant then. Yes. So on a 10 up, on a 7 up, I should say, you get to say how you overcome the challenge, and obviously you don't have any conditions on that because you succeeded by above a 9. So
Serena steps forward, ignoring the snapping. I know you because I am like you. You just want to be quiet. You just want peace. And you are willing to snap at anyone just to have it. But then you start to miss people, but you no longer know how to get their attention other than shouting and barking all and snapping at them. I understand you, and I also want to be alone, but sometimes we have to be alone together. Once again, and she extends her hand, I am Serena, and I would like to be your friend.
yeah, and the alligator will sniff and say, I've never had anyone be friendly like that to me before. Oh, come on then. You can come down here if you want.
Also, my friend would love to wrestle with you if you would like.
Sure.
I mean, I'm good now. I was just, I really wanted to get to the sewer. We're fine. Thanks though.
Okay, I went to merry-go-round.
Yep, cool.
Yeah, I'll go and take Serena.
Oh, yes, and also you get to write a belief for young ladies must never befriend monsters. But yes, as I say, the alligator will sort of beckon you down into the sewer.
So I'm gonna say monsters are made, not born.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, so as you head down into the sewer, you will see the glowing the glowing that you saw before. It's actually a what's what I'm looking for? It's like an exit sign, it's like almost like a fire exit sign sort of thing that's lit up. but over it, where it's had a new message scrawled on it that says it says the up too lates on it, and obviously there's an arrow pointing further down the sewer.
Well, let's go check out this place. You guys think that's good?
Well, it seems to be the only thing down here. I mean, Mr. Alligator, have you ever been there?
No, it's more of your type down there. Kids running around making a racket.
Well, yeah, I guess let's go and find out what's going on down there.
And the alligator will wave as you head off down the sewer tunnel. You will find a group of kids, much as we said. They're probably all actually a little bit younger than Serena. To a yeah, but both by a year or two, or maybe a few more in some cases. They are all kind of this piece of the series. Obviously, it's quite it's been like decorated with like scavenged furniture, and there's a record player blasting out music, and stuff. But the one of the kids, probably the one who looks pretty much the biggest and oldest here, will say, "Who are you, and where did you come from?"
Well, I'm Serena. These are my friends. We're explorers. We arrived here on a boat, and I guess we're looking for answers.
Not more ruddy explorers.
No, we're good explorers.
That's good. The last one that came through here, he made all the adults go weird.
Yeah, we were kind of wondering about that. What happened to the adults?
I don't know. He came through here and he was looking around at everything and writing everything down in a book. And now nothing really changes, it all stays the same.
Was he wearing a white suit with a hat?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Professor Alpaca and I, we've come into contact with him also.
A most awful fellow. A disgrace to explorers everywhere.
I mean, have you tried waking up the adults? Like, did you throw some water on them or something?
Sometimes they come around for a bit, but then it's just all the same. They just, keep going through the same day, going to work, coming home, making dinner, just like trudging forwards and forwards, and like it's like I said, it's nothing ever changes. It doesn't seem to have affected us kids, but
Well, what all did this guy in the suit check out? Where did he go?
Well, he said like all the important places, like the city hall and the banks and all of that. He was writing some sort of, I don't know, some sort of book about here or something.
Well, do you know where he went?
I mean, he's supposed to have this like big, like museum or library or something. I can't remember what it is. He goes, everyone around here just calls it the tomb, because like he just locks stuff up there and never lets anyone in to see it.
Yeah, that does sound like him. He didn't really sound like somebody who likes to share.
That definitely looks like him. But why are you hiding in the sewers?
Like, he never. It's like it hit the adults first, and then the kids. Some of the kids started changing too, but we found if we stayed in the places down in the dark outside of the the city proper, the change didn't seem to come over us. We're still free, I think.
Well, have you tried going into the tomb to see if there's anything in there?
It's like far away up a mountain, and I don't know, we're scared that if like we go out there, maybe the same thing will happen to us. So we just make do down here.
Well, that sounds kind of like where we were hoping to explore eventually.
We should take his book and squash it, destroy it. Whatever is happening to this city must be related to the book. And maybe liberate whatever lies in the tomb.
I want to climb the mountain. Let's go climb the mountain. Serena, we should go climb the mountain.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, we need to help out.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So, do you know how to get to the mountain? Is it far from here?
I don't know really. I don't know how far it is exactly, but it's and he'll indicate a direction. Not that makes much sense down here in the sewers, but yeah, he'll be able to sort of explain where you need to go. It's up such and such road leads out towards the mountains.
Well, I think it's a good idea to head there. I mean, it sounds like all of us want to climb a mountain for some sort of reason.
Well, I guess good luck then if you're going up there. It'd be good, for the city to be alive again.
Well, is there anything up there that we should bring back? Is there anything that in the tomb that he took from you?
Not that I know of, but maybe.
Well, we'll take a look and maybe we'll bring back something fun.
That sounds good. Yeah, cool. So yeah, and I think with that you'll be able to return to the streets and head towards the mountain. Yeah, so it doesn't actually take that long to reach the mountain. It's strange. It's almost like that kind of when you're traveling somewhere in a dream. It's just like the intervening space just doesn't really seem that important. And soon you are all heading up the side of the mountain. It's sparsely forested, but mostly it's kind of rocky, and there does seem to be a path of sorts in places, though in others it is much more rough going, and you do have to sort of climb parts of it. And the higher you get, it gets colder, and there starts to be snow on the mountainside that you're trudging through. The wind's cold and sort of whipping the snow into your faces as well.
Oh, I didn't expect it to get this cold up here. Frank, have you ever climbed a mountain? Did you know it was going to get this cold?
I mean, I've climbed some big hills, but yeah, they always get colder at the top, so it'll be fine. We just got to keep going.
Snoozle against me, and I can warm you.
Well, if we can find the tomb, maybe it won't be as cold in there.
And you continue going up, and yes, by the alpaca's warmth is sustains you through your trek, and as you reach maybe not quite the summit but fairly close, you notice sort of jutting out, or in fact not even at first, it looks like it's on, those kind of like Hollywood Hills houses where they have the big kind of support girders that like hold the house onto the side of the hills, overlooking those sort of impressive drops. It's kind of a bit like that, except as you get closer, you notice that the building, and it's a big Greek colonnaded, square built, sort of Victorian neoclassical building, all white stone and columns, but it's perched on a couple of large chicken legs that are kind of anchoring it to the side of the mountain. And as you approach, you will notice that there is kind of a gap between the building and the edge of the mountain. It looks like maybe there could be a sort of drawbridge or bridge of some sort that kind of goes across it, but it is currently not there.
Well, I mean, I think this is it, but do you guys have any ideas on how to get in there?
I mean, can you like merry-go-round and get Morea to like make a plant bridge?
Yeah.
Because then I'll take Serena.
Okay. Yeah, so then Morea would, immediately be like, well, with the right attitude, of course we can build a bridge. And so, yeah, she would try to just use her powers over the plants to basically have plants sprout up from the ground and form a bridge for us.
Sure thing. So yes, if you want to roll.
Yes, that's a 10.
Cool. So yeah, this is Forest Chorus, is it, that you're using here?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, yes. How does your song transform the environment?
Yeah, I think vines kind of sprout from the ground and sort of wrap their way up and sort of form a bridge. And I think there are flowers like the ones we saw back on the island that are kind of sprouting from some of the vines.
Awesome. Yep, that sounds good. Okay, so we are. Do people want to take a quick break, or are we okay to carry on?
I think I'm fine going for the final.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep,
Yep.
perfect. We'll carry on then. So yeah, you make your way across the bridge, and there's a set of grand steps leading up to the polished wood door of the adventurer's tomb. It has a big brass handles and a big brass door knocker on the polished mahogany wood of the door.
Serena just wants to open it instead of knocking or anything. She just like tries to go in.
Certainly. In fact, tell you what, we'll have you, because I think that is probably
Is that like going against the manner of looking before leaping?
yeah, I think so. So yeah, and I mean, normally a door isn't much of a challenge, but I think in this case it probably is one. So yeah, no, I think yeah, go for again, rolling your refuse to mind your manners. So just roll 2d6.
Got a 6.
Okay, so you do still get to you do still cross out the manner and write a lesson that you learn from this experience. So, but I'll tell you what happens. Actually, no, sorry, wait. Oh no, okay. So no, sorry. I always forget. So the I like what they've done a lot in this with changing who gets to answer questions depending on what you roll, but it does also confuse me a lot. So on a 6-, so essentially you'll manage to burst your way in through the doors, and get in fine. There's no kind of failure per se, but what part of your rebellion is misunderstood?
I think, I don't know, maybe people think like I'm trying to save the town, but I'm more just kind of curious what's going on. So I'm just trying to figure things out as I go, and I'm not entirely motivated to help the town.
Sure thing. Yeah, that sounds cool. And yes, like I said, you get to write a belief now relating to young ladies must always look before they leap. But I will. I can give you a moment to think on that if you want. And but as you, no, there's not at all a problem. It is that it's it does ask quite a bit of you this game, so no need to apologise at all. But yes, I think as you do burst in, Francis Lightfeather is there still in his. In fact, no, he's now in a kind of velvet smoking jacket, though he still has the pith helmet on. And he has like a big blunderbuss that he's sort of leveling in your general direction. What the devil's going on here? You girl, what are you doing here?
Well, sir, we see what you did to the town below, and we want to fix it.
What do you mean fix it? The town's perfect.
Perfect. There's kids living in a sewer. What did you do?
Well, I had nothing to do with the sewers. Not really my scene, you know.
Well, why are the adults like zombies then? What happened? The kids said it's your fault.
Well, their history, my dear.
What what? What did you do?
I recorded them. Well, that's kind of the point, isn't it? You know, travel around, see places, record it. It's building knowledge.
So when you record things, do they just stay that way forever?
Well, of course. It'd be incredibly inaccurate otherwise, wouldn't it?
Can I merry-go-round now? Sorry.
Certainly, yeah. No problem.
Because then I think Frank would be like, where's your book? Like, we need to destroy your book.
You can't destroy my book. And besides, I've got thousands of books. I have the largest library in all the land and the greatest collection of historical artifacts and mementos from strange tribes and all that. And it kind of gestures, and you can see the sort of halls of this place seem to gone forever, and there's shelves covered in books and historical objects and the like. Oh yeah, sorry. Who's taking on Serena?
I can, unless you want it, Ludo.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Serena.
Cool. Yeah.
I don't think that Alpaca has anything to say this time, that they did not do in the first scene. And Serena is irritated this. That's not history. That's not an historical artifact. And what is this about strange tribes? History is not something to catalog away and archive and make assumptions about. History is alive. It's lived every single day. It's on the costumes. It's on people treat each other. There's not line between present and past. We are all living in history, and you are disrupting this. People like you write the worst history books. It's all fancy people and dates and banks and city halls and whatnot. You don't care nothing about the people that have lived and made that history and that will keep living after you shelve them away.
Cool. That sounds very much like you are standing up to your convictions there. Or standing strong in your convictions, sorry, I should say. Which of your beliefs do you think apply to this?
Sometimes you must be the one bringing a light to the dark. Too much caution leads to regrets, maybe. No, definitely monsters are made, not born. So at least those two.
Yeah, those sound good to me. So yeah, what you do? So for this one, you roll 1d6, and then an additional 1d6 for each belief that you bring into it, and then you take the two highest, basically, of all the dice you roll. So in this case, you'd roll 3d6 for that.
Okay, so I have a 9.
9, cool. If anyone feels like they can use their aid move here, then feel free to bring that into the fiction, and that will grant. Well, you'll have to roll for it, obviously, but you can, if you think you have something that you can sort of bring to this.
Yeah, I mean, Morea could offer Serena a wish. I'm just trying to think through how that would happen. Yeah, I think Serena goes on that whole impassioned rant, and Morea. Well, Serena, I mean, we we could help reclaim the books. Perhaps I could grant you a wish.
Very well. I wish the books were written by the people they are about.
Excellent. So yes, now sorry, Morea, you roll with 2d6 to see how your wish goes.
Yes, that is a 3.
Oh dear. Serena, how does the wish unexpectedly misfire? Though bearing in mind you will still get the effect of the move that you made anyway. This just kind of complicates it somehow.
Yeah, the problem is not so much the people that are alive. The problem is the books about people that are long dead. And the books start shredding apart, and there is this ghostly hail that fills the tomb.
Nice. Yeah, lots of ghostly figures are sort of wailing and like they're just kind of like muttering like essentially their life stories, and it's just like a cacophony of weird stories in all sorts of languages from all sorts of lands, just making this weird sort of creepy whisper, but it's like lots of people whispering, so it's actually quite a loud sound, susurrating throughout the tomb. But yes, you do still get the 7 to 9 result on stand strong in your convictions, so you overcome the challenge, but at a cost.
I'm going to say that the cost is that the Lightfeather lashes out at us and puts us in danger.
Excellent. Yes, so I think Lightfeather is, you've clearly rattled him with your words, and now also the apparition, the apparition of all these spirits. And he says, "You don't know what you're talking about, girl. You're no explorer, you're no historian. You're just a silly little child playing games." And he sort of basically storms off, but like gestures, and I think like bookcases start collapsing down towards Serena to sort of trap her underneath them.
Have they actually trapped her yet, or are they just like about
no, they're sort of currently falling. Yeah.
So could I do the "there's no time for tea" move to roll to try to escape a
Yeah.
dangerous situation with your friends? Like,
Yeah, certainly.
"Guys, we have to try and get
What are
out
you
here."
going to? Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, that's cool. What are you going to try and do?
I think I'm gonna try and like pull everyone through a window so we can like scale down the side of the cliff.
Cool, that sounds good. So yeah, if you want to roll for the moves, again, it'll just be 2d6, I believe.
Got a 10.
Perfect. So you leave. How do you lead everyone to sanctuary or freedom?
So I think I'd just like, I don't know, throw or like kind of like push Serena through the window and like help Mr. Alpaca, and then just like grab Morea on my back and just kind of climb out myself, and we're all like climbing down the cliff now.
Perfect. And I think that you will see Lightfeather is chased from the tomb by various spirits, and you can see him kind of fleeing off down the other side of the mountain, as these ghosts sort of boil out of the tomb, and then slowly sort of dissipate in the air. And that is, I think, where we will end the main portion of the game now, and we have a short epilogue, a sort of short epilogue phase now. Oh well, sorry, that's not quite true. So first, I think the as you come down the mountain, you see the city is bustling again, and there's perhaps some confusion on the faces of people, but the city is bright and there's lights everywhere, and color has sort of returned to it, and there is like I said, there's just kind of, life has returned to the city. The kids have come out from the sewers and are being reunited with their families. And I think as Serena and the companions are sort of stood there watching sort of all this unfold for them, a bus pulls up at the side of the road, and the sort of the nameplate on the front of it has the name of Serena's hometown on it. And as Serena steps onto the bus, it will head back into the distance. And yes, so first what we have is each of you gets to have a little epilogue for your companion, in which you say kind of like the final thing that the girl says to the companion and what the companion does as a result, or how they've changed since meeting Serena. So I will start off with Alpaca. What's the last we see between Serena and Alpaca before she returns?
So Serena scratches underneath the muzzle of the alpaca and whispers, "You should find a student that is teaching you as much as you're teaching them." And they depart.
Nice, thank you. And Morea.
I think Serena, when the two of them are doing their goodbyes, Serena starts to do like a little curtsy, like being very formal. And then both of them just start giggling, and they do like a little dance, and like just holding hands and dancing around in a circle for a little bit, and then they hug.
Nice, thank you very much. And finally, Frank. What's the last we see between Frank and Serena, and how does that change him?
I think Serena just asks him, like, do you want to come with me? I mean, it's back to the human world. And Frank's just like, no, it's not my time. Like, I'm going to just explore everything here and, maybe stick around these two and keep going.
Nice. Thank you. And finally, we each get you each get to have a short epilogue with Serena back in the real world. So the way this one works is you should each of you can take one of Serena's beliefs and just give a short scene where we see kind of how that lesson that she's learnt affects her when she returns to the real world. And that can either be kind of immediately as she returns or later in her life once she's grown up. You don't have to choose different ones necessarily. If someone chooses one that you also want to do something on it, that's fine. But yeah, it just has to be related to one of the beliefs that we've generated. So I will go back through again, and yeah, Ludo, would you like to narrate a scene of Serena back in the real world?
So we see an adult Serena teaching a classroom, and she is putting aside the old history books, and she is asking from the students to tell, before we go into the tales of history, why don't you tell something about the history of your family and where you came from?
Nice, thank you. Yeah, and Robert.
Yeah, I think similarly, like an adult Serena is, teaching classes, and she has found her dream of becoming a teacher. And I think at some point, like, she starts reading like current news and things like that, and she ends up actually going overseas to like teach. She wants to bring light to the dark, so she goes to teach less privileged children, like in far off lands, almost also exploring those lands at the same time.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, and Julie.
And I think like just to kind of go on with that, like while she's exploring those lands, she like finds this kid that no one wants, and like they all think it's like this wild child or whatever. So she like remembers like monsters are made, not born, and like adopts the kid and helps them learn how to like fit in and teach him and everything.
Lovely. Well, that's brilliant, everyone. Thank you very much for that. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So